Today, we'll do the second episode on Florentine legends. This time, I have chosen the Santissima Annunziata, that is the Church of the Most Holy Annunciate, to look at Maria Maddalena's box seat. Let's see what this is about. Right here, on the right, you can see the Crocetta Palace. The Crocetta Palace was remodeled by Giulio Parigi as residence for Maria Maddalena Medici. Maria Maddalena was the daughter of Grand Duke Ferdinand I, and her brother was the Grand Duke Cosimo II. Her father had died, so the Grand Duke now was Maria Maddalena's brother. And he had Giulio Parigi remodel the palace because she was unable to walk. So her brother had Giulio Parigi build an archway connecting the palace to the church so that you could attend services on scene. In fact, if we look at the interior of the church, the Baroque interior of the church, we can notice that some of the pews on the right look towards the entrance instead of towards the high altar. In fact, on the right, you can see the gilded bronze grate where Maria Maddalena could attend Mass on scene. From her box seat, we find that grate. This is, as you see, her box seat, and she was accompanied by her ladies in waiting, and you see the glass with the grate. In fact, from here, you can see the most incredible views of the church, because the palace is now the archaeological museum, one of Florence's hidden treasures. And the curator of the museum, Professor Yosso, has ordered a view with a drone so that you can see the most amazing details of the church. That is the altar that Maria Maddalena could see from her box seat. In fact, if you look, the actual chapel was done by the early Renaissance architect Michelozzo at the time of Cosimo the Elder. And the top part was redone in the Baroque period to frame the Annunciation fresco. Now, on the right, you can see the Annunciation fresco without all the jewels that the Virgin Mary usually has, because they have been donated by many women who had great devotion to her. And in fact, it has always reminded me of the Virgin Mary, La Macarena in Seville, with all her jewelry. And notice how the dove of the Holy Spirit is going towards her ear. Now we see we're moving to the square, to Piazza Sanitssima Annunziata, the most Annunciate square, and to look at the statue, the bronze statue of Ferdinand I. and the Palazzo Budini Gattai. Ferdinand I was Maria Maddalena's father, and this equestrian bronze statue was done by Gian Bologna, and as you look, this statue was done by Gian Bologna from the cannons of Turkish galleys that have been conquered by the knights of the military order of St. Stephen, which was founded by Cosimo I to protect the Tuscan forts from Turkish raids. Now, the bronze plaque frame, as you see, the bronze plaque shows gives you an allegorical reference to the Grand Duke's peaceful rule. In fact, you have a queen bee surrounded by a concentric circles of bees. And what is interesting is that it is almost impossible to count the bees because of the way they are arranged. In fact, one of the Florentine children's fun things to do is to count the number of bees surrounding Queen Bee. It is almost impossible to count. In fact, you have to be told the number of bees to be able to count them. There are actually 91. And then let's look at Grand Duke Ferdinand I. It is interesting to notice that Ferdinand I's niece was Marie de' Medici, who had just married King Henry IV of France. And in fact, Marie asked her uncle to do a second cast of the statue. And in fact, in Paris, he would have been Henri IV. Instead, unfortunately, because of the French Revolution, that one has disappeared. He was beheaded, let's say. And then look at the palace on the right. It was the first mannered brick palace done in Florence. It was actually originally owned by the Grifoni family. In fact, it was known as Palazzo Grifoni. It is now Palazzo Budini Gattai. If you look carefully, you will notice that on the right, two of the shutters are open. One on the second story and one on the third. Why? According to legend, a young Grifoni bride, the palace had just been built, said goodbye to her husband, who was going to war. It might have been the war of Cosimo I for the conquest of Siena. And he died and never returned. But every day of her life, she was always waiting for him to return. That's the reason for the open shutters. When she died, it was decided to close the shutters. And all hell broke loose. Her ghost would not allow the shutters to be closed. So they're always open, waiting for her husband.